Well, today I'm going to show y'all how to cape a deer for your taxidermist. Say you're coming from the deer's killed out of state and you can't bring bone back into across state lines, or you're somewhere and don't want to carry the weight out and you're packing a deer out. Just the best, quickest way to cape a deer without messing anything up. So let's get into it. Jay's going to be my cameraman. There's a couple things you're going to need. A knife, obviously, and a screwdriver. And you might say, why a screwdriver? I'm going to show you. That's just a regular, the Victoria Knox. I think it's 2 1/4 inch blade, whatever. But that's what I use for everything. I keep one of these in my hunting bag. I always have one in the truck. I always have a good sharp one with me because they're handy for everything. If you're going to get measurements, you'll need a tape measure. You can look this up, probably any of the taxidermy supply companies, but your form companies. But McKinsey, Second to Nature has a chart, but you can look at them if you forget this and see where to get your measurements. But if you wanted to be, and don't try to pull one over on your taxidermist either. Record your actual measurements. Don't say, oh, I think you would look better 2 inches bigger, because it's going to be a nightmare for us. So get your actual measurements. But you'll have what you have. Show it here. You'll have an A measurement, and that's from the corner of the eye to the tip of the nose. So we're going to get this measurement. That's your A measurement. And then you'll have a B measurement that is behind the ears. There's three measurements we need. There's A, B, and C, or A, C, and B. It's actually A, C, and B, but these two are priority. So you just want to measure. Make sure you can see that. So you just want to measure right to the corner of the eye. So we're gonna go with 7 on that one. And then you want to get right behind the neck. Right behind the ears. On a fresh deer that hasn't been chilled, it's real easy to pull it too tight because the muscle and the meat's going to move. So on a fresh deer, you don't want to pull it too tight. But on a deer that's been chilled, you got to account for that hair. So you're gonna pull it tight to account for that hair. So 18, so 7 by 18. Basically what you do for your next measurement is leave your tape in the same place here, but you're going to drop it down 2 inches. This measurement is not a priority. It's definitely nice to have, but it's not absolutely necessary. A taxidermist can look and get a good idea. So 20 and a half. So I know that deer was swelled. So it's 7 by 18 by 20 and a half, and that's going to be a full swelled neck. So I'm just going to make a note of that. For the sake of this, taking the measurements is not necessary, especially if you're not going to freeze it. If you're going to throw your cape in a cooler and then take it to the taxidermist, it doesn't matter. We can pull it out of the bag, get our measurements, and then freeze it. If you're planning on freezing it, then we do have to thaw it out, get our measurements, and put it back in the freezer. So if you're comfortable with a tape, you can get your measurements. If you bring me a cape and measurements, that's what I'm going to use. So first thing, this deer was dropped off with this much neck left in it. I would advise to skin it all the way down. When you got your deer hanging and you're getting all your meat off, I would get it all the way down to the joint where the skull meets the neck bone. I would take all that out, and it makes it 10 times easier, and then we just have to make a little cut here. With this, either I have to go back inside of it and take this out and de-joint it, or I have to make a longer cut here and to be able to pull it out. This deer, I know the form I'm using on this deer and all that. I'm gonna go ahead and make a little cut, and this deer has thick hair anyway, so when I sew it up, it's not gonna show. But if it was gonna be some kind of competition mount or anything head down or a hard turn, then I would wanna take this chunk of meat out all the way back to that joint, so I only have one little cut to make here. All right, you're gonna want to get close up of this. So hold it probably up here. See it good? So the first thing, you can kind of see there's almost a triangle pattern in the hair right there that comes to a point. That's the easiest line to follow to be able to hide it when we mount it and sew this back up. So you never ever want to cut the hair, because then you're not going to be able to hide it. So what I'm going to do is go in behind the base of the horn, get my knife in there, flip my knife over, and I'm coming to that center point. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm kind of behind the horn there. It's not going to show anywhere it's looking, which I'll sew that cut up. Your taxidermist will sew that cut up. But if you do it in the right place and you don't cut any hair, it's very easy for us to sew it up. So just peel that back. Anytime as we're doing this, as we're pulling hide, if anything catches or seems to be tight, we're going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because we want it to be loose and coming off. I know on this one, ordinarily, if you took that neck out to your look down here. If you took that neck out to your joint, then you would only have to make like a little 2-inch cut right here to be able to pull this hide over. Because this one has so much neck left in it, I'm gonna have to cut it down farther. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this cut, and you can kind of see the darker hair right there. I want to stay in the center. And again, I'm doing this from the underside too, so I'm not cutting hair. Now I want to create a little slack. I want to keep the meat on the meat. I don't want the meat on the skin. If you're in the woods too, while I'm thinking about it, if you're in the woods and do this, or you're camping and do this, whatever, and you don't have a piece of paper and a pen to write down your measurements, and you do want to get the measurements just to make it easier on me, and again, doesn't matter either way to me. But if you're wanting to get the measurements, I don't care if you're bringing me the deer to mount. You can say, hey, this is Bob, here's my measurements, I'm going to be dropping a deer off to you, and that's fine if you don't have anything to write with. So here's where the screwdriver comes in, and you can see how small that point is. I actually ground this one down because I misplaced my other one. But it's, I don't know, a little over an 1/8 inch wide, so it's not a full-size screwdriver. It's a small one, but it's a big screwdriver with a big handle, so I can put some force on it. So I'm gonna do the front side first, and I took my knife and cut that loose. Cut that loose. Now it's almost starting to pull, but I'm just gonna pry it off because I don't want to take a chance on cutting this with my knife blade. I want it to stay as thick as it is. Now I'm gonna do the same thing on the back, and this is, you gotta get up under this and then make sure it's cut loose good. As you're going around with that screwdriver, make sure you don't pry against the horn, against the bone right there, because you will chip this if you pry against it. So you don't want to put pressure against it. You're just moving your screwdriver around and separating it. The point of my screwdriver is going against the bone. Now I want to create some slack, so I'm pulling a little tension here on this hide. There's a little piece of cartilage right here. Just cut on the inside, on the hide side of it. That way it stays on the head. That's that piece of cartilage. Now I'm pulling a little pressure, because when you pull pressure, then you can really see the membrane right there and know where to cut. You don't have to take the skin all the way down these ears, but it does make it a lot easier. Now if you grab that with your hand, there's almost a round ball. The ear butt feels like a round ball. Now I'm gonna grab that with my fingers and come back on the skull side of that and cut. Once I get through, can you see that good on the camera? Once I get through the ear canal, then I'm gonna cut back to the skin. If you don't get this perfect and you leave more on the leave meat on the hide, it's not the end of the world. And now I'm just giving myself plenty of slack, just creating slack. If you didn't have all that neck meat there, it would only go to here and it would be much easier. Same thing, I'm gonna grab the ball, make a cut behind it, and get through the canal, go back to the hide. You can do, I've done plenty of these in the woods with a pocket knife, so you can do it with a pocket knife. I just like this little blade. There's less chance if I'm cutting here and I got a long blade knife, it's easy to get back here and cut this hair, and the last thing you want to do is cut hair. So I do like a little short blade knife. This one's still a little bit frozen, so it's a little harder to pull than normal, but it's fine. Alright, now this is where you gotta start being a little careful. You can, if you'll stick your finger right there, you can feel the back of that eye socket. So I'm gonna put my finger inside the eye. That way I'm holding it and I can feel it, and I know I'm not gonna cut the eye, and I'm gonna start cutting this membrane. So I'm gonna get, you see how I just peeled loose there? I'm cutting the membrane from around the eye socket, and I'm keeping pressure on it too. Now once, like I know where you can see my finger there. So there's the eyelid, so I know I'm behind the eye. Go ahead and make a cut there, pull my finger out. Now you can look down through the hole and see the corner of the the eyelid. Occasionally the hide will be tight and you'll do like half of this one and have to go to the other side and do half of that one. So if you run into that, just swap back and forth. Anytime it's tight, go to the other side and bring it down. So once you get it to here, you can just make a cut straight across. You see there's the corner of the eye. Make a cut straight across and there's a little bone right there. You can see that bone. You'll start pulling it off of that bone, and then you know you have the tear duct here, which is inset. So you don't want to, if you cut that, it's not a big deal because see how wide it is, it doesn't show, and we can rebuild it. But if possible, you don't want to cut it. It's starting to get tight. I'm gonna go to the other side. I'm gonna do the same thing with my finger in the eye socket, finger through the eyeball or eyelids. I'm basically just cutting straight down too, cutting that membrane till it all pulls loose. I'm gonna cut through where I can see it. Go behind the corner of the eye, there's my bone. Now I'm putting pressure on this because I want it to peel off the skull, but I'm staying all the way down into that tear duct cavity. Once you get out of the tear duct, then it's back to the norm, just taking it off. Yeah, I can just about pull it off without having to use my knife. I've got a, before you get to the corner of the mouth, so say back here, you want to cut through to the teeth. That way you get all the lip skin. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna cut through to the teeth. Now you want to go all the way to the gums when you're bringing it down, top and bottom. You can cut like that if it's easier. Stick the knife in there like that. Just I'm kind of making my cut line and then bringing it down. Get that tongue out of my way. Now I'm gonna come in here and cut up there at the gum line just so I don't have a jagged edge there, and I know I got a good smooth cut. Same thing on the top. Once you get to a certain point, and I'm cutting that gum way down there at the mouth. Once you get to a certain point, you'll feel like it would be easy now just to finish the top or finish the bottom. I always do the bottom first. So I'm gonna cut that gum line. Come over here. I'm gonna cut that skin all the way up to the teeth. And then I'm just going all the way to the gum line over the top. Now on the nose part on the top, I'm gonna go ahead and make my cut all the way around the gum line. That way I know I got a good clean edge. I don't want that skin all jagged. Now when you get, I'm going to show you two ways to do this. When you get to this point, you can, I'm not going to do it because then I wouldn't be able to show you the other way, but that's where the bone ends. So now we're just in cartilage. You can cut right here all the way through to your bone and then bring it down and leave the whole nose cartilage and everything intact. That's perfectly fine. That's the easiest way to do it. Or you can go ahead and skin it all out. So a taxidermist has to have all this skin inside the nostril, all that white skin. We've got to have it on the mount, so be sure not to cut that off. So if you're not comfortable doing this, just cut it off back here and leave all the cartilage. So there's the first nostril I've got taken loose. And there's the second nostril, and that's it. Everything's still there. Now, if you're skinning out a deer that hasn't been chilled, you know, if it's in the 30s or 40s or whatever when it's cool, not a big deal. You just want you want the hide not to have the body heat. You want the body heat to be gone before you roll it up, or it's going to be like a blanket and hold that heat, and there's a chance it'll spoil in places. So if you have a way to cool it before you roll it, then that's great. Definitely don't roll it hot. But another thing too, I've done other videos on this, but when you originally skin the deer, you know, like even as far as gutting it, don't come up past here. You got to leave all that brisket, all the armpits. When I've done videos on it before, you can go back on the channel and look, but I did one last year. When you got him hanging and you're skinning him out, if you'll cut around the leg, just ring around the leg and then cut the bone off, you can just pull it through and it like a sock and leave the legs attached here, and then we know there's no issue. Now as far as rolling it, I roll and you don't want any delicate parts. So like the nose is delicate, the lips are delicate, the eyes are delicate, the ears are delicate. You want that to be completely wrapped and covered. So now I'm gonna fold my ears in. If you didn't have the long neck meat on your deer, this cut would be small, so you probably wouldn't be able to tuck everything inside of it. But since it's longer, I'm gonna tuck it. I'm gonna get that nice and tight, and then I'm gonna roll it. That way I know that face is protected and there's not gonna be any type of freezer burn. And then I'm gonna bag it just like that. If it was 80 degrees outside and I had to do this without chilling the deer, then I would just wanna maybe throw the hide in a bag, kind of loosely, a trash bag or something, and put it in the cooler flip it one time, kind of let it chill, and then roll it up. Now, you can obviously do this with a handsaw. Show right here, son. You can obviously do this with a handsaw, but I'm going to be using a Sawzall. I actually forgot to buy blades last night at Lowe's, and I've been doing this a bunch, so this blade is completely shot. So it's going to take a little longer than it should. But to bring one back across the state, all you can bring is the skull cap. So you can't bring the skull. So I'm just gonna basically go hold my saw blade perpendicular right here, and I want to go right behind the eye socket. So I'm gonna come over here and look down. There you go. So I'm gonna go right behind the eye socket with my blade perpendicular to the skull. Now on the back, it's easier, like right where the skull starts to roll over right there. You can see that roll over. I'm going to go just above it and cut that meat. And that just makes it easier for the saw blade to grab. But I'm going to go just above the lip of that skull and just start me a cut. As soon as it cuts, now I want to cut at an angle. If you don't get this angle perfect, leave more than you think you need to. I really need a saw blade. In reality, that should take about 10 seconds. That saw blade's about like a butter knife. Now I'm just going to take and trim this meat off. I'm going to do one side at a time. Behind the horn is your biggest chunk of meat. Trim all this off, you can just throw it in the back of the truck or whatever you need to do, and you don't have to worry about it drying or being nasty or whatever. If you wanted to leave it in the back of the truck for a week or anything like that, you can throw some table salt on that, and it would be fine and dry. But that's it. I'm gonna throw the hide in the bag, so that's how it's got to be to come back in the state. Just be the skull cap. So I'm gonna throw the hide in a bag, and I've got my horns. And that's that. Now I'm legal to cross state lines. Hope that helped. Any questions, just let me know, but I think that was pretty straightforward. Good luck out there, and we'll see you on the next one.